few things I want to talk about today regarding some huge updates in the film world recently. The first of which is that we finally have some Lord of the Rings casting news that people are sure to have opinions on. The new Andy Serkis directed Lord of the Rings side story, you can call it, titled The Hunt for Gollum, has found a replacement for Aragorn. That's right, Aragorn will not be portrayed by his original actor Viggo Mortensen. I am a huge Lord of the Rings film fan, and Viggo Mortensen is one of the reasons for that. He brought this super badass but also gentle persona to the character. Someone who can absolutely throw down in the fight, but also makes you and Frodo feel safe on this perilous journey. Like, I just want to be like swaddled by him, you know? And he does that just by the way he talks and carries himself. That is a hard line to balance on for an actor in such a large role, but Viggo Mortensen sold it in a way that made you say, yep, that is the King of Gondor if I've ever seen one. But apparently with Viggo and his current age, returning as Aragorn or Strider would just be too much CGI to de-age him. Too much of that de-aging tech to pull off. Especially since the character of Strider is a major part of the film, supposedly. So instead, the role has been recast, with Jamie Dornan entering the role, an actor known for 50 Shades of Grey, Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar. Yeah, I'll be honest, I haven't seen any of this. I'm just reading off of IMDb. Even if he is great, he's entering a really tough spot. A lot of fans, right out the gate, are already writing this new Lord of the Rings movie off as it kind of feels unnecessary. It feels like it may just be a cash grab, and recasting a fan favorite character just twists the knife a bit. But here's how I see it. Spoilers for Mandalorian Season 2, I guess, incoming. I remember when the season finale for Mandalorian Season 2 came out. And everyone saw the CGI de-aged Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker for the first time. Many folks found it distracting. All people could focus on was that it was a de-aged face rather than, oh my god, that's Luke Skywalker. It takes you out the experience, really. And then people say, well, maybe Luke should have just been recast. Put Sebastian Stan in the role. He looks a lot like him. It'll be fine. I want to keep that story in mind when we talk about this Aragorn recasting, where instead of one scene, like in The Mandalorian, I don't know if a CGI face would work for an entire Lord of the Rings film. Recasting the role entirely removes any restrictions you feel or fears you may have when filming a character's face. Their reactions, their emotions, their entire performance, really. If they just CGI'd Viggo Mortensen onto this de-aged version of him, would that be an authentic performance? Or would the camera never linger on his face for longer than 5 seconds because we can't let the audience realize that his face was put in that Facetune iPhone app or whatever? In a world where we have the choice, I think that settling into a new actor's interpretation of Strider, rather than a risky digital transformation of the original actor that may not even work and can limit what Andy Serkis wants to even do with the film, is a safer decision overall. Of course it would suck, and of course I just wish that young Viggo Mortensen would play the character, or maybe not have the film be made at all. But hey, let's drink from a glass half full here. It's fun to be excited for things. But what do you think about the recast? Let me know down in the comments below. Or is there someone else who should be playing Strider? Aha! That's a good question. For our second big topic, we finally got a look at Godzilla Minus Zero, the sequel to the highly acclaimed Godzilla Minus One, a film that really felt like it blindsided everyone. At one moment, it was like just another Godzilla film that was coming out, but in the next, it was spoken about immediately as just one of the greatest films ever made. And I agree with that. We don't know much about the sequel except for it is a continuation of Minus One. It involves the same family roughly 2 years after the first film's events, having to contend with Godzilla again, but this time in New York somehow, which, cool man. Put a kaiju in an American city that feels like it hasn't really been destroyed in a while. Like, remember when it felt like only New York existed in Hollywood? Like, that's the only city they would ever put some sort of big battle in. If there was going to be a city to be destroyed, it was gonna be New York. That was years ago. It's good to be back. Of course I'm excited for this. It is nerve-wracking, absolutely. There is always the concern of having a film that feels perfect in every way, and somehow trying to make a sequel to it without making it feel forced or a retread. Even if this film is inevitably worse than Godzilla Minus One, it's still awesome to see this kind of Godzilla again. An absolute dick kaiju. None of that Adam Wingard American Godzilla stuff, okay? This Minus One and Minus Zero version is just such an asshole. Like, he causes chaos and death and destruction just for the hell of it, and that makes for an entertaining watch, sure, but also character drama. A lot of our love for that family in Minus One came from just watching them contend with an unstoppable evil monster. And I can't wait to hopefully see that again when Godzilla Minus Zero releases in November of this year. Let's also hope they tie a bow on that giant cliffhanger from the first one as well. Speaking of sequels that make me nervous just by their mere existence, Top Gun 3 has officially been announced, with Tom Cruise and producer Jerry Bruckheimer returning to make the film. We don't know a release date yet, nor do we know if Joseph Kosinski, the director of Top Gun Maverick and the recent F1 movie, is returning to make the film, but just knowing we're getting Top Gun 3 is cool indeed. There is a lot more to worry about here though. If we're gonna get a Top Gun 3, I personally need to see more from the film than what we saw in Top Gun Maverick. For example, Top Gun Maverick was really simple and distilled when you break it down. It's a movie where people train for a mission against a nameless enemy. They execute that mission, and we see some very, very light character drama along the way. But it was executed so well, and the filming techniques used for it were so top-notch that no one really cared how simple it was and how two-dimensional its characters were. I don't know if that formula will entirely work again, especially so soon. Of course, I want that one-of-a-kind fighter pilot camera in the cockpit action scenes again. Of course, I want this Top Gun school to be the focus, and for Maverick and hell, maybe even Miles Teller to return. But if we're making a Top Gun 3, let's do a bit more. Let's up the stakes. Put these students in a more uncomfortable situation. A more conflicting mission where ideas clash. There's some tension there, dramatic conversations happen. Let's make Miles Teller's character learn to be a leader, for example, and not just a good pilot, and have him struggle with that. With being a new role model for these recruits. Or something, I don't know. These probably aren't good ideas. I just don't want Top Gun 3 to blend in with Maverick at all. I want it to do its own unique, great thing with its story, with its characters, since that's really the only thing they could have improved upon with Top Gun Maverick, as the rest of the filmmaking there was pretty much perfect. If Top Gun 3 is less of a crowd pleaser and more of a critical success, I think the Top Gun trilogy at that point will be all the more special for it. But what do you think? Do you even want a Top Gun 3? Do you want a second Godzilla Minus One movie? Or how do we feel about this Aragorn casting? Thanks for watching, let me know down in the comments below, and for more movie chats like these over a cup of coffee, be sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you next time.